There's a kind of weight you carry that no one else can see. It's not on your shoulders. It's in your chest. Tight, heavy, attached to a person, to a memory, to an outcome you keep trying to force. And the more you hold on, the more it hurts. But letting go, that feels even scarier. Like if you release it, you'll lose part of yourself. But here's the truth monks know. What you're holding on to might be what's holding you back. Not because it's wrong, but because it's no longer real. It's an old emotion clinging to a present that's already moved on. So what if this breath wasn't about letting go all at once, but loosening the grip just enough to breathe again? We often mistake emotional attachment for love, for loyalty, for meaning. But sometimes, attachment is just fear in disguise. Fear of change, fear of loss, fear of not knowing who we are without that feeling, without that person, without that story we keep repeating in our heads. The monk doesn't cling. He feels and lets it pass. Not because he doesn't care, but because he knows that clinging turns love into suffering. What if the pain you're holding on to isn't yours anymore? What if your freedom is hiding behind the very thing you're afraid to release? You don't need to let it all go right now. Just breathe. Feel the space loosening, one breath at a time. The moment you loosen your grip, you begin to realize something. You were never holding them. You were holding yourself hostage to a past version of love, to an idea that said, if I let go, I'll be empty. But emptiness isn't a threat. It's space. It's breath. It's what monks return to again and again to find clarity beneath the noise. This isn't about forgetting. It's about softening, about making space for peace to enter where pain has been sitting too long. If this feels like something your heart's been needing, consider subscribing and tap the bell so you won't miss what comes next. Because letting go isn't a loss. It's the beginning of freedom. You don't have to rip it out of your heart. Letting go doesn't mean erasing. It means releasing the grip so it no longer controls how you breathe, so it no longer defines how you feel or how you show up for the life that's still unfolding. Monks know this. Not everything that hurts is meant to be held. Some things are here to pass through you, to teach you, then move on. And your job is not to freeze them in place, but to feel them, thank them, and let them leave. You are not weak for feeling. But you suffer when you confuse feeling with holding. You can honor the memory without clinging to the pain. And with each breath, you return to yourself, lighter than before. Attachment often whispers, if you let go, you'll lose something important. But monks understand, it's not loss you fear, it's the space that follows. Silence, uncertainty, the question of who you are without the story you've been repeating. But what if that silence wasn't empty, but sacred? What if it's where you finally hear your own voice after years of trying to echo someone else's? The truth is, you don't lose your heart when you let go. You find it, not in reaction, but in return. Back to your breath, back to your truth, back to the self that doesn't need to be entangled to feel deeply alive. Because freedom doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you stop confusing pain with connection. You were never meant to carry every emotion forever. Some were meant to pass through, like waves, like weather, like wind across still water. But somewhere along the way, you started collecting instead of releasing, holding instead of feeling. And suddenly, you're heavy with stories that no longer serve who you're becoming. The monk watches his feelings rise without labeling them good or bad. He doesn't attach. He observes. He lets them move, like clouds across the sky. And in that movement, there's peace. Because nothing stays. Not joy, not grief, not even love in the form you once knew it. So the question isn't, should I let go? It's, what's stopping me from allowing what's already leaving to go? Sometimes what you call love is just a habit of holding on, not because it brings peace, but because it's familiar, because letting go feels like failure, like giving up, like saying it never mattered. But monks know you can honor something deeply and still let it go with grace. Because love is not meant to trap you, it's meant to free you. And anything that costs your peace is too expensive to keep calling love. So breathe, not to forget, but to remember who you are without the attachment. You don't need to harden your heart to protect it. You just need to soften your grip on what hurts. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. Letting go isn't a moment, it's a practice. It's not one deep breath, it's every breath after that, choosing presence over clinging. The monk doesn't say, "I'm done feeling this." He says, "I'll feel it fully," then release it gently. You don't erase the bond, you release the suffering attached to it. And in that release, you make space for new clarity, for stillness, for the part of you that's been buried under years of emotional noise. You're not cold for choosing peace. You're not broken for outgrowing a feeling. You're growing, softly, quietly, like a river learning to flow around the rocks instead of crashing into them. This is the freedom monks speak of. You can't control what rises in the heart, but you can choose what stays. The monk doesn't judge the wave. He watches it. He breathes with it. Then he lets it pass. Because not every feeling is meant to become a story. Not every connection is meant to be permanent. Some are here to teach, to open, to soften you, then move on. And your strength isn't in how tightly you hold, but in how gently you release when it's time. That ache you feel, maybe it's not asking to be fixed. Maybe it's asking to be felt, and then forgiven. You don't owe anyone your suffering. You owe yourself your peace. And peace begins when you stop repeating what's already ended. The reason letting go feels hard is because part of you believes you're letting go of love. But monks know you're only releasing the illusion that love must hurt to be real. True love, the kind that frees you, doesn't chain you to the past. It doesn't hold you hostage to guilt, to longing, to an old version of yourself. It invites you to breathe again, to open, to live. You can carry the lesson without the weight. You can honor the memory without staying stuck in it. And you don't need to harden to move forward. You just need to remember. You were never meant to be bound by emotion. You were meant to feel, and then fly. You don't have to rush it. Letting go isn't loud. It's not dramatic. It's not a declaration you shout into the sky. It's quiet, like an exhale. Like the slow release of a hand you've kept clenched for too long. The monk doesn't force release. He allows it. He creates space through stillness, not effort. And sometimes, that space is just sitting with the feeling without feeding it. Not judging it, not labeling it. Just witnessing it as something passing through, not something that defines you. You are not your attachment. You are the awareness beneath it. And that awareness, it's always free. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let go. Not because you're giving up, but because you're giving space to yourself, to the other, to the truth that's been buried beneath expectation. The monk doesn't let go to forget. He lets go to remember his peace, his center, his breath. Because what you cling to often clouds what you truly need. And beneath all that noise, what if your soul has been whispering, "It's okay to release this now." Not in anger, not in pain, but in peace. Letting go doesn't erase the past. It honors it, while setting you free from its grip. You think holding on is strength, but monks see something deeper. That real strength is the ability to loosen when every part of you wants to cling. It's easier to stay in the loop of memories, of what ifs, of maybe someday. But that loop is not love. It's attachment dressed in hope. And hope, without presence, becomes weight. So what if strength isn't about holding on harder, but softening your heart enough to trust that letting go won't break you? It'll bring you back. Back to stillness, back to breath, Back to the part of you that's always known peace was never out there. It was waiting, right here, beneath what you were afraid to release. Letting go isn't forgetting. It's remembering differently. The monk doesn't erase his past. He changes his relationship with it. No longer bound, no longer defined, just aware. Aware that some things were beautiful and temporary. Some things were painful and necessary. And both deserve a place, but not a prison. You've carried emotions like they were identities. But what if they were just visitors? Visitors who taught you, shaped you, and now are ready to leave. And what remains is not emptiness, but clarity. The space where love is no longer confused with suffering. The space where you finally feel light enough to rise. Somewhere deep inside, you already know what's no longer meant to stay. Not because it's bad, not because you didn't care, but because holding on now is holding you back. The monk doesn't chase closure. He embraces the incompletion. He accepts that some goodbyes don't come with clarity, just calm. Because peace doesn't always come with a clean answer. Sometimes it comes when you stop needing one. So breathe into the uncertainty. Let the question be unanswered. Let the memory soften. Let the thread loosen without forcing it to break. And in that gentle loosening, you'll feel it. A lightness. Not because it's gone, but because you've finally let it go. You can love someone deeply and still let go of the pain they left behind. You can honor what was without dragging it into what is. The monk doesn't confuse attachment with devotion. He knows that clinging doesn't deepen love. It distorts it, turns it into fear, into guilt, into longing for something that's no longer here. So instead, he bows to the past. He thanks it. Then he walks forward, lighter, but not colder. You're allowed to outgrow emotions that once felt like home. You're allowed to change the story you tell yourself about what you deserve to carry. And maybe the most sacred form of healing is realizing you don't have to carry it anymore. You don't have to explain your healing to anyone. Not everyone will understand why you've stopped holding on, why you're no longer available for emotional chaos disguised as love. But the monk doesn't seek validation for his peace. He simply lives it. And that's your permission too. To let go without guilt. To free yourself without needing permission. To stop participating in pain just because it's familiar. Your worth is not tied to what you endure. It's reflected in what you choose to walk away from. Quietly, calmly, fully. And in that quiet decision, you reclaim something sacred. Your energy, your clarity, your breath. Not everything unresolved needs to be reopened. Not every feeling requires closure through conversation. The monk understands. Some peace is found not in fixing what broke, but in no longer bleeding from it. You don't need another apology. You don't need to win the memory back. You just need to stop losing yourself inside it. Letting go is not passive. It's active surrender. A choice to be here, fully, instead of replaying what no longer exists. And the moment you do, you'll feel the shift. Not louder, but lighter. As if the weight you carried was waiting for your permission to finally dissolve. You've tried holding on. You've tried pushing it down. You've tried pretending it didn't matter. But the ache always finds its way back. Not to punish you, but to remind you, it's time. Time to choose peace over stories, presence over memory, stillness over cycles. The monk doesn't numb his heart. He listens to it, gently, patiently, until the message is clear. This no longer belongs to me. And that's when the letting go begins. Not in anger, not in shame, but in quiet acceptance that freedom isn't found in clinging, but in the courage to release what was never yours to keep. There's a quiet moment that comes after the release. No fireworks, no applause, just breath, just peace. And in that stillness, you realize you didn't lose anything. You reclaimed yourself, the version of you that can feel deeply without becoming trapped. that can love without attachment, that can remember without reliving. The monk doesn't call this the end. He calls it a return to wholeness, to clarity, to freedom that doesn't depend on anyone else letting go first. So now, here's your invitation. What is one thing you know you're still emotionally attached to, but feel ready to release? Write it in the comments. Let this be the moment you set it down, softly, and walk away lighter.